Tears for the Tear God, Salt for the Salt Throne, and Gas the Leaf Tribe.
After a group of writers and publishers petitioned to have Megan Murphy's event canceled at the Toronto Public Library, I started to wonder what kind of writer would argue against free speech? What kind of writer would attempt to deplatform another person's opinions? So I went out and found one. Keith Maillard is a novelist and a poet, and a professor at UBC, where he teaches creative writing. This is his steaming hot Twitter take on free speech, and I'm going to pick it apart.
Hear this dirge and despair.
I'm sure we're all familiar with the term low-hanging fruit, and while this is in fact kind of a road apple, we're still going to enjoy this pie because I don't think we can argue free speech enough. I really don't. So let's get going. Unfortunately, we seem to have to say the same thing over and over, so here we go again. First thing that pops into my head is repeat it loudly enough and often enough and people will believe it. Now, yeah, that's a bit of a dig. That's not the point. Aren't there a bunch of people on the left who see, let's say, neo-Nazis and anti-Semites and go, oh, those opinions have been defeated. We don't need to hear it anymore. We get to take away their speech. Pretty sure that greater minds than I have settled the argument on the value of free speech, so oddly, what it boils down to is that you are allowed. You are allowed and should argue against it. On the other hand, if you can be dismantled by me, I don't think we have to worry too much. 1. Free speech means that the state cannot punish people for the opinions they express. This is half the truth. It is correct. Also, it's leaving out that a person cannot be prevented from expressing that opinion. Okay, and that means not just by the government, but by anyone. The same way that you have a right to life, but that doesn't mean that only some government agent can't take your life. And if Keith Maillard murders you, well, that's just fine. That's just your problem. It's not the case. You have the right to speech, and no one can stop you. 2, free speech does not mean that any institution, either public or private, is required to provide a platform for anyone who wishes to express any opinion whatsoever. Again, not entirely true. A private institution is not required to provide a platform for anyone ever, but a public institution that does provide platforms for which you pay taxes is absolutely required to host you if you book the time spot. Flat Earther books a time spot at a library, even though we all know that that's bullshit. They get it because the Flat Earthers pay taxes too. Tough beans, right? He paid taxes. It's his library just as much as anybody else's, right? And if they do hosting and he books the slot and he pays for the slot, good. Let him have his Flat Earth event. And the next week, a Globe Earther will go and debunk everything he just said. That's the point. That's what makes it valuable. You can't be made to pay taxes and then also be made to listen to only opinions with which you disagree being subsidized by the taxes you're paying. That's just not fair to you. 3, there are a number of limitations on free speech. 3 and 4 go together, so we're going to do them both. One of them is a limitation on speech that causes harm. Number 4 is requiring that speech be illegal before it can be seen to be causing harm is to set the bar far too high. Now, with 3, Maillard muddies the water here and doesn't make it clear that there is a difference between speech and action, and that calls to action are in fact actions themselves. For example, shouting fire in a crowded theater. If people panic and trample out of the theater and people get hurt, yes, you will get in trouble for that call to action. On the other hand, if the theater's on fire, then you won't. Also, Christopher Hitchens looked around smugly at the crowd and shouted, "Fire! Fire!" And everyone just laughed, and then they went about their business. It's not a crime. There's not a limitation on speech that way. If he's referring to slander and libel, then he's got his illegal and harm backwards. It's not that it has to be illegal before it can be seen to be causing harm. It's that you actually have to demonstrate harm. You have to demonstrate that what someone said or wrote about you has generally cost you money. And then you can make a claim. You also have to demonstrate that what they said isn't true. So the bar is backwards. It has to cause harm first, and that's what makes it illegal. For example, if I go around saying Hillary Clinton is a reptilian shapeshifter who eats babies, that's not costing her any money, so I can't get in trouble for it. Also, it's true, so I can't get in trouble for it. Moving on. In the current political climate, advocates of free speech are almost always associated with people on the right or far right. It's really weird that this is phrased this way, and we're going to circle back to it. Their real concern is not free speech. They are using any means possible to attempt to insert their right-wing ideas into mainstream discourse. Now, he starts by referring to people on the right or far right, and then finishes by lumping them all back in together with right-wing ideas in mainstream discourse. So that's just disingenuous. That's cheating. Advocates of free speech are almost always associated with people on the right or far right. That is weird because it seems to imply that there is a corollary that advocates of free speech are almost never associated with people on the left or far left, as if people on the left or far left either don't give a shit about free speech or are in fact against it. Very strange. Their real concern is not free speech. Well, anyone who has an opinion should always and ever be concerned with free speech, which should act as a background in which all opinions can be expressed. Obviously, it's a tool. It is a mechanism with which you will express some other opinion. But that doesn't take away the value of free speech, and it doesn't mean that we're not genuinely concerned with it. And then using any means possible to attempt to insert their right-wing ideas into mainstream discourse. Free speech isn't any means possible. It is the single means. It is the only way to insert any idea into any discourse. And like flat earthers pay taxes too, right-wingers, conservatives pay taxes too. We all get free speech, whether you like it or not. And this is where we are. That what it is he has an opinion, doesn't like that opinion, and says that one needs to be shut down. Then he claims it causes harm. Absolutely cannot demonstrate this. Because nothing I say, no opinion I express, has the power to cause another person harm. It just doesn't. Hillary Clinton's a reptilian shapeshifter who eats babies. Bodies dropping? I don't hear it. Me, maybe, if Hillary Clinton sees this video. But it's... We'll see if we can address some of the comments. Well, unfortunately, some of the comments that I meant to address are gone from the thread now. So we'll have to do without them. So instead, I'll just read what has become my favorite comment, playing on my art being a teacher of creative writing at University of British Columbia. This is a good piece of creative writing. Well played, sir. Well fucking played.
Relevant links to the shit I said in the description. Made it. I'm Marine Twin. Like, subscribe, or don't. It's a free country. At least it used to be.
They would silence us?